Welcome to the Infrared Spectrum for Friday, May 12th. Why am I holding a metal box? I'll tell you in a moment. First, the latest from ITC. We have two new video tips that Jason Gagnon, our technical support manager, recently put together that address some of the more common questions we receive about camera setup and how to restore the default settings in your thermal imager. These narrated segments are now available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/infraredtraining and cover everything from setting the date and time, the measurement units, regional settings, and more. If you've recently purchased a thermal imager and have questions about setting up your camera, this is a great place to start. So, what's up with this box? Well, this is our indirect heating lab, and it's something that we use in our Level 1 certification courses to teach new thermographers about the impact of indirect heating. That is, the temperatures we are often seeing on the outside of components are much cooler than what's really happening on the inside. And that can present a real problem if we're trying to gauge the severity of a fault. Consider bus duct or any electrical panel for that matter. If you don't have direct line of sight, the surface temperature you're seeing is often not even close to the actual temperature of the problem. This box in the lab contains an incandescent light bulb, and when energized and allowed to warm up, creates the following thermal signature. We can see a maximum surface temperature of only 114 degrees Fahrenheit here on the outside. After opening the lid and looking inside, we see an apparent surface temperature on the light bulb that's well over 300 degrees Fahrenheit. In this case, it's actually out of range on this particular camera. And when we run this lab in our classes, we typically see temperatures topping out at close to 400 degrees Fahrenheit in range 2. And that's on the surface of the bulb, quite a bit warmer than what's showing up on the outside. Here's another lab of ours that's permanently stationed at our Boston Regional Training Center. It's a mock-up of a panel board that illustrates a very similar issue. On the outside surface with the cover in place, the hottest spot detected at this point is only about 23 degrees Celsius, which is about 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, looking at the same spot, we see a much larger maximum temperature, almost 90 degrees Celsius. That's 194 Fahrenheit. And yet there was no indication of that anomaly anywhere on the outside surface. Now you might be wondering, what if it was warmer? Perhaps it might show up then, right? Well, it's a question we often get, and I've got a clip I'd like to show you. It's from our 2015 Information Conference in Nashville, featuring thermographer Daryl Androli, and what he found thermally on the outside surface of a closed panel on a motor control center. Let's check it out.
Removing the covers and the deadheads and other obstructions is imperative to getting good infrared image, and heat transfer can't easily happen with a cooled air gap. If you look at this first image here, you'll see just a visual image. If you look at my next image, that's actually a closed door image of this, the image from the outside. You can see that the maximum temperature is 91.6. This is actually the infrared image of the interior of that disconnect in this motor control center, which was running a transformer and a food processor. The interior image of that disconnect, the maximum temperature was 874 degrees, and you could not see that with the door closed.
I get that question a lot in our infrared training classes, that if it's bad enough, it'll show up on the outside. As we can see from the previous clip there, it's simply not true. You need direct line of sight to get the best read on what's really happening with the fault temperature with thermography. So going forward, know that you really need to be a qualified electrician if you're looking at something directly with thermal imaging and it involves electrical energized equipment. Only qualified operators should be doing this type of work. We have more of those information clips available on our website. It's at youtube.com/infraredtraining. And speaking of information, we've got the conference coming up here in 2018. If you want to know when that's happening, get social with ITC. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And you can bet we'll post that announcement as soon as it's available. And of course, if you have a question or a comment about any of today's content, you can certainly drop us a line here in the comments field on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, and we'll get right back to you. Well, that'll do it for another episode of the Infrared Spectrum. Hope you enjoyed today's topic on indirect heating. We'll be back next Friday with another episode. Until then, have a great weekend.